All right. Good morning, everybody. Welcome to another ACS Technologies Generative AI in Ministry or for Ministry. And we're really excited about the technology we get to show you today, and even some of the things that are becoming more and more available to ministries, to churches, to pastors, even in everyday life. So let's launch in. For some of you, you've known me for a very long time. Some of you don't know. So my name is Chris Cahias, as Trace kind of alluded to in our pre-recording. I used to lead the team at Ministry Platform, and for the last 2 years or so, I have led ACS Technologies innovation efforts. So that's what my team and I do. We basically are looking at whatever could possibly be next, and we love experimenting, especially on behalf of the church. Also joining me today is Evan Fitzpatrick. He is from a new partner called Interprenet, and they do some really, really cool stuff with live translation. But we're going to let him share a little bit more about that as we get into our time together. So, without further ado, let's launch right in. So, the question to ask all of you before we really get going today, have you used AI? Have you used it today, this week, this month, this year? Normally, if I'm standing in a room full of pastors and ministry leaders, I usually get about half of them who say yes and half of them who say no. To which I advance my slide and say, oh, yes, you have. Whether you think you have or not is a bit irrelevant. But all of these companies and so many more, including Netflix and just about every subscription service you could think of, Hulu, they're all using AI on you in one form or the other. You're also sometimes interacting with that AI directly. For instance, if you use Amazon and you log in and it's like other things you should buy, that is a form of artificial intelligence being used against what you've done in the past and what the system has learned about you. So now that we've said that, let's get into what exactly is AI. So at its high level, and I'm not going to read these slides to you guys, you're all really smart, but it's a simulation of human intelligence. So for most of these AI engines, we're talking about a neural network, which is an attempt to take technology and make it work the same way that the human brain does. So as you see here, we're talking about things like machine learning, which is what really AI was up until Chat GPT. I mean, for most people in the world, AI meant machine learning up until 4 years ago, 3 years ago. But now you can see that it's exploded into this entire landscape of things such as natural language processing, computer vision, robotics, and even what we're going to spend most of our time today on, which is generative AI. So diving deeper into generative AI. So this is a subset of AI, and it has to do with this idea of generating content. So the generative in generative AI is we're going to generate things. We could be generating text, images, audio, and music. I'm not going to demo those today. Video, and even multi-model generation, which is where we're going to take several AI engines to come out with something at the end. Now, the interesting thing about this is each time you're using generative AI, you're likely going to get a different output because it is, in fact, creating something from scratch each time. It's actually, laughingly, it's one of the problems with generative AI is I can ask it the exact same thing the exact same way and get a completely different output. But more to that. There's actually advantages and disadvantages there. Now, one of the first questions that always comes up when we're talking to ministries is, what are the moral and ethical concerns about this? What about copyright? And one of the things that I'll share with you is uh, the let's just say it this way, the legalities around AI are something that will remain in flux probably for the next several years. But as of right now, using AI to generate an image is generally clear from a copyright perspective. Now, I'm going to give you some very, I'll say, my highly opinionated opinions about some of this. And what I'm going to suggest you be careful of is avoid likeness. And what do I mean by that? If you ask many of the leading image generation softwares right now to create a photo. Like, let's say you upload a photo of you and you're like, hey, I want a photo of me and Michael Jordan high-fiving. It will likely generate something that is really close, if not a perfect, image of Michael Jordan plus whatever you've uploaded as you having a high five. The problem with that is, while the image itself is probably not bound by copyright, you're beginning to infringe on his likeness. So what I will say to you is avoid that. Don't go with the Michael Jordan moment. Just say, hey, create a very tall basketball player who looks like he's in an NBA outfit that I'm high-fiving. What will happen there is it will generalize things like the facial features and things, and you'll get your point across without infringing on likeness. Now, the other question that comes up a lot is some of the technologies you're going to see today, they're going to lead to very powerful tools that can generate things in a hurry. So the question I get from a lot of pastors is this cheating? And I have a very easy answer for everybody. Um, it's cheating where your heart, if your heart is there. So what I've told my pastors, because again, I'm going to show you guys in a few minutes how you could quickly create an outline of an entire book of the Bible. And we all know an outline isn't a sermon, but some of them are like, is that cheating? And I believe that that's a heart thing. And the other thing that I've always encouraged, and I said this to my pastors at my church, guys, the best sermon you ever have taught in your whole life is the fire that you walked through. So if you're going to cheat, you're going to cheat. That's a heart matter. And this is simply a new tool that makes that possible. But the thing that I love about AI when we start talking about sermon or other spiritual, I would say content creation is it's going to help if you use it the right way. And using it the right way means we're going to use it in a collaborative way. So more to that's come, but let's cover the moral and ethical considerations and get that out of the way right out of the gate. All right. So generative AI, what can we use it for? And these 12 are the most common use cases for generative AI. And by the way, when I say generative AI, I really don't care if you're talking about ChatGPT, Claude, Gemini, Ideogram, all of them, Dolly. Okay, lots and lots of options in the generative AI space. We're just speaking very, very generally about them. So I can use it to help with ideating and doing research. You can do summations, revisions, translation, which is going to be fun to see in a few minutes, transcription, recommendation, and so on. We can also create content. So these are the primary use cases for using generative AI. And I will say this to you, even in a daily basis, you can make use of these things to accelerate what you're doing in your role in ministry. So, right out of the gate, let's talk about ideation and research. There's a fantastic tool called Perplexity. And I simply asked Perplexity to create a summary of my church based on its website. And in just a few seconds, it has skimmed through a chunk of the website and it has come back with, obviously, we've got photos of the church here in Florida. Also, our 3 different campuses and our 4 different, I would say, churches. So it's pulled all of those things together into a very quick summary. So Perplexity has other kind of cool superpowers and abilities to help you do research, but you can use these tools to do research. Now, mind you, if you're using an actual chat-based LLM, something like ChatGPT, if you ask it this question, its information will be highly dated because it takes a certain amount of time to program these tools. An LLM, large language model, think of it again like a ChatGPT or a Claude, but their knowledge is limited. So there's specialized tools like Perplexity and others that are on the market that you can use to do research where they have more access to real-time data. Higher end versions of ChatGPT have the same thing, so I'm not trying to exclude that for any of you who are using those tools. But you need to use something beyond just the base large language model. So let's talk about summations. And this is one that I hope will resonate with some of you out there. It resonated with my pastors, especially. My pastor's great at creating sermons. So in the background, off to the right, you can basically see one of my pastor's notes teaching through 2 Timothy. And one of the things that we, want to show you is one of the things that generative AI is amazing at is taking a very large chunk of text and creating targeted summaries of it. So in this case, I said, hey, I need a short description about the main point of the sermon. And it did this in about 1 second. And immediately I'm going from 3 pages of notes to a very concise description. Now, the reason for this, and I'm sure all of you can come up with several of them, but in my church's scenario, the big reason for this was uh, our pastors would do a great job at creating sermons and notes and everything to go with it. And then we would get, we're like, hey, we need a description for the website. And we would get, I'll be teaching through Second Timothy chapter 3. And so that doesn't sell it. That doesn't really make the marketing people or the web team happy. So after showing them this tool, all the teaching pastors are now using generative AI to create their descriptions once they've completed the creation of their notes. We can also talk about generative AI from the point of revision. So again, I'm keeping the same thread going that we had started with. I uploaded notes. I asked for a short description. Now what you see happening is I'm going to say, I need this less than 50 words. And maybe I need that because I have a smaller space. Maybe it's a Facebook or some other social media post, and I want to keep it short so it doesn't turn into those weird posts where it gets huge. Um, maybe I want to go directly from this into a text message. So maybe I need to ask it to revise this down to 160 characters. Those are all things that generative AI can do to make these things happen. The irony here is we went from 1 second for a brief description to 4 seconds for a shorter one. And if you think about that, as we talk about a neural network, that makes sense. The shorter and shorter we want to make something, but for it to still have good context, the more and more we would have to think as well. So this is another really cool superpower of generative AI. So this is a moment when I want to talk to you about context. Every large language model, every generative AI that you're going to interact with, it has something called a context window. And what that is, think of it like it's how much information it can keep in its short-term memory that you can continue to talk about. So in the demo we just did, this has 3 full pages of sermon notes plus me asking it for a description, plus the description, plus the new thing. So the context window in most of the LLMs today is very large, like over 100,000 tokens, which turns out to be something like 250 to 400,000 words, depending on how which model you're using, which language you're speaking, and so on. So this is one of those other great things with working with generative AI is I don't have to start over or give it a new moment. We can just keep having a conversation and the model remembers everything else we've talked about. If you don't believe me, one day get into, ChatGPT for free or something, ask it 3 or 4 questions, and then literally write to it and say, what have we talked about today? And it will summarize the things that you have been talking about with it. So again, one of these great superpowers, you have a context window. So better than a Google search, you're not starting over and refining your own idea every time. You can simply keep asking it questions. And what we're going to do next is we're going to translate it. So again, same thread. We went from description, short description, and then boom, I'm just saying translate this to Spanish. So in the realm of translation, most of our large language models have fairly good, I would say, Latin language root, really, really powerful translation capabilities. And as you get further from that, some of them deviate. There are also some more specialized engines out there that do additional types of text translation. But for most of the things that you're going to want to do, going to English, Spanish, French, German, even Portuguese, you're not going to have a whole lot of a problem just going from translating to translating. Now, I want to invite Evan to jump in here with us. And Evan is going to take you on a journey into a tool that, to be honest, I fell in love with the very first time I saw it. So, Evan, are you going to share a screen or are we good to go?
No, we're good to go. We can run with this. This is perfect. Well, thanks, Chris. Thanks for the intro. We're super excited to be here. And I love the idea of what you guys are doing with this, the intentionality of how do we engage with AI, right? It's our world now. It's going to be our world. And I think it's wise to be a little wary of it, but I think there's so we can handle and steward that well in our churches. But I think there's a lot of great use cases and would love to kind of share one way that we're leveraging AI at our company to do just that for the church. I'm with a company called Interprenet. We are a language service provider. So anything to do with languages, we have our hands and feet in. So think of going to a doctor's office and you need an interpreter there. We plan that all the way up to conferences and events. I don't know if any of you guys were at the Gather 2025 conference. We provided translation for that last week, and it's been a great opportunity to serve the church, particularly with our AI solution that we released in March of 2023. We released it to the marketplace. We're getting a lot of great feedback, and I was talking to our CEO, who's also a believer, and we're just like, man, like how cool would it be if we could support the church in this same capacity, right? So I kind of shifted over to this side of things, and I was just the last year exploring if the need is there, and it's just been like an overwhelming response of yes, this is something that we could implement at our church for various reasons, right? And we can get into a little bit about that later on. But what I would love to do for you guys is do a little interactive demo. So Chris, if you want to flip to that next slide with the QR code, I'll have everybody in the audience, if you have your camera, open up your camera and you can scan this QR code, and that's going to lead you to our app. Our app is called Interprefy. Interprefy is our sister company, and we work hand in hand with them to leverage our AI solution to support our churches there. So I'll give everybody a moment there. And actually, I do have a link that if you don't have your phone on you, but still want to check it out, I'm going to throw the link here in the chat, and you can click on that. You can open that up on a separate browser tab for you guys, and it'll auto-populate the password and stuff. So as you guys are downloading the app, it should auto-populate the password for our demo today. And if it doesn't, it does not have sign language. It would be amazing. Unfortunately, our AI engines aren't able to do that in the real time. However, we can do that post-production. It should auto-populate the password. If it doesn't, it'll ask for a token. I just entered the token in there, Church Now. And you'll know you're in when it asks you to select a language. So I'll have you guys select any of the languages that are there. I have about 10 to 15 languages available. We have over 80 languages that can be used for this service. And the app is designed to have headphones plugged into it. So if you don't have your headphones plugged in, it'll automatically lower the outgoing volume. So for the purposes of this demo, I'll just have you turn up the volume and you can hold it up to your ear, and then you'll begin to be able to hear the translation coming through. You'll also notice that there is a CC button on the right side of the interface on the screen. That is our closed captions icon. So this is a really cool tool for various reasons, but not only are you engaging with people who might speak a different language than you, but it also opens up the opportunity for somebody who might be deaf or hard of hearing to engage in your service that otherwise wouldn't be able to. So if you guys click the CC icon, you can select English. You'll see my voice being transcribed in English. And then if you select any of the other languages that are there, you can see the translation happening there. So pretty cool, right? It's been a super fun tool. And I just want you guys to picture yourself, right? You're about to start service and somebody walks in and they don't speak the same language as you, right? What are we going to do? And this is a wonderful tool that just takes a simple setup, and they can then engage in your service in Brazilian Portuguese or in Spanish or in Russian or Korean, whatever that might be, right? As far as the setup goes, all we need is that we get an audio feed from your soundboard of everything that needs to be translated. That feed gets sent to a computer. on the computer, you're opening up Google Chrome and you're clicking our link. And then you can think of it kind of like Zoom today, right? You came in, you selected your audio device, you would do the same thing there. And then you hit start sending your audio. And then those that need translation would scan the QR code just like you did, download the app. It would bring them into your church service, and then they would be able to listen and read any of the captions there real time. There's 100 different reasons why churches want to do this. Some of my favorites are like so many testimonies about a multi-generational community that's multilingual, right? The younger generation comes in and they speak English and Spanish, but mom and dad are coming to service and only speak Spanish, right? They're still coming to service. They're not enabled to engage with the service. We can hand them this device. They can listen to the translation. They can get the gospel in their own language, right? How cool is that? And then they're able to engage and be a part of the community, right? I always say AI translation creates accessibility and inclusivity without forfeiting the truth that's being presented in front of them. So it's been a super fun tool. Would love to share more. We just had a church that reached out like 5 minutes before service and said, "Hey, we have a new couple that's from France that's visiting. Can we have French added to our token? We have an on-demand team that supports Sunday mornings." Emailed them right away. Within a minute, we had French up live and running for them. He sent me a photo later on that day. That was the French couple, and they had their headphones on and they were reading the translation in front of them, and it was just like it was so cool. And for me personally, it's been a beautiful, wonderful thing to be able to help enable the vision of the church that the churches that we're supporting that otherwise might not be able to do that, right? We want to be like our community. We want to be inclusive with our community, right? And there might be various reasons, again, that might be creating a barrier for that to happen. But this tool has been able to help break down some of those barriers and include those people in our services and ultimately, right, to hear the gospel and to be a part of their church. So,
Evan, would you be willing to go over the instructions to download, type in the token and everything just one more time?
yeah, of course. So if you guys if you have your phone open, you can open up your camera and I'll have you scan this QR code that Chris is sharing right now. And that will lead you to our app, which will be called Interprenet. Download that, and that app should auto-populate the password there, the token, and the token is church now. And I'll type it again here in the chat. Just in case if it doesn't auto-populate there for you. And then once you download that and it populates, you'll be prompted to select your language. There's about 10 to 15 different languages there, and you can select any of those, and then you can begin to hear the real-time translation coming through.
As long as you keep talking.
Exactly. Yes. Yeah, that's a great point, Chris. So what's happening here is your guys' device is solely a receiving device. So it's not actually ingesting any audio. So I have a little setup on my side that I had previously described, and I'm sending audio to our platform using a separate microphone, and then it's sending it to the cloud. It's doing the process, and then it's coming back to your guys' device in under 4 to 5 seconds for the translation there. Awesome. So looks like a lot of you guys have been able to check it out. That's sweet. Yeah. And there will be a Q&A session at the end too. So would love as you guys kind of go through this, think through as far as application goes, hold those questions. And I would love to be able to answer any of those as well. And we always offer a free trial for our churches too. So Chris, if you want to pop to that other slide that's there, you scan that QR code of the previous slide, we can get you set up with a free trial on a Sunday morning. You can test out all those languages. I always like to say we're confident in our solution, but we want you guys to be confident in it too before you're delivering it and you're offering it. So take advantage of that free trial, test it out, get feedback, invite some of those people that your multilingual speakers to the service, and then they can test it out and give you that feedback. And I think it'll be a pretty exciting thing for you guys. So
yeah, this is really cool. I love so much of what you just said, especially when you said, hey, you guys have an on-demand team, so I've got somebody who shows up who can only speak French. What a neat way to say we're not going to miss this opportunity to minister in the moment. So that is super cool. I can share with everybody. I met Evan attempting, I'm going to say it this way, attempting to build something like this as part of what we do in innovation at ACS. So we built something that worked. And then we were trying to see if we could make it better, and we came across Interprenet. I think we talked to Evan that day. We demoed it the next day for the church, and let's just say I haven't thought about building it ever since. It is really that good. And what's really cool is Interprenet doesn't just do AI speech translation. Your history is translation, right?
Correct. Yes. So we've been in the industry for 20 years now. Our co-founders were actual interpreters, and it's something that they're just passionate about, language accessibility. So we do everything from text translation to human interpretation. So it doesn't just have to be in the AI space. When I had mentioned for the Gather 2025 conference, we had a team of several human interpreters, and it was also assisted by our AI solution too. So there's definitely some cool ways that we can pair some of those solutions. Maybe there's post-production videos that you guys want to play ahead of time. We can support with that. So anything with that with languages, we have our hands and feet in and have a good pulse on that. So
Very cool. Well, I know we're going to have Evan back in a future episode of AI in Ministry because they've got another pretty cool add-on, but we're not gonna dive into that today. But a little teaser, they've got something to make your small groups really exciting as well. But Evan, thank you, and thank you for doing the demo with us.
thanks, Chris.
All right, let's keep going. So that dealt with translation in a really cool way. So let's talk about transcription next. So transcription, this is when we go from the audio back to text. So you can see I've got a couple of products down there that I've used in the past. OpenAI Whisper and DeepGram are two of them. But in this case, we're taking that same sermon, 2 Timothy chapter 2, chapter 3, and we are going from the pastor's spoken word back to text. Now, this can be really an amazing and powerful thing for pastors. I have one pastor. I'm not going to tell you how old he is because it's way older than me, and it shocked me when he told me this, but he's actually using a tool like Fathom, which is traditionally used to take notes and record the audio and transcribe a meeting. He actually uses it whenever he teaches so that he can get the text output of his sermon so that he can become better at what he's teaching. He also, whenever he teaches, typically teaches on a Saturday night and then twice on Sunday morning. So he'll record himself Saturday night, review what he actually said in the sermon, and make tweaks to it before he teaches the next time, which honestly blew me away when I saw that because that is not the traditional use of that technology. But again, it's how we can find creative ways of bending these AI tools to aid us in what God has called us to do, the teaching and instructing of people in the church. So very, very cool. In this particular transcription, OpenAI and others, but I'll focus on Whisper. It's a very, very cool technology. It can not only deliver the text extracted from the audio, but in this case, we have the time code intact. So as you see, it's showing you that at 35 seconds to 39 seconds, the pastor is saying, and I truly believe that what the Lord puts before us in the text this morning. So very, very cool. So if we begin to meld, like, I don't want to say meld, but if we begin to bring multiple technologies together, and one of them, honestly, is I'll say, even in Evan's product, the first step is always going to be going from the audio to the text. So they are transcribing as well. But if we bring all those technologies together, we get a moment when if you combine translation and transcription, we could be producing sermons that have closed captions in a plethora of languages. So my pastor, we've done some experiments where we've created an automated pipeline that will take his sermon video, extract the audio from it, turn it back into text with time code, and then we take all of those texts and time codes and translate them into about 7 different languages. So now suddenly that sermon has a worldwide audience. Now, that means it's a worldwide audience only in as far as the text on the screen is concerned, but more to come on that. There are technologies that are rapidly beginning to change that as well. All right, let's talk about evaluation. So as we've seen through this whole thing, again, same sermon, same topic, same thing. Now we can take the sermon and we can actually say what were the main points of the sermon. So now we're moving from simply distilling it down to a short description. Now we're actually asking it to do a little bit of a qualitative analysis of the text to come up with the main topics and points. And in this time, in this case, it's right on the money. So I guess this is 2 Timothy 1, not 2 Timothy 3. But we are able to pull these main topics directly from the teaching. So again, a very powerful tool. What could you use this for in ministry? Well, I could ask it to give me the top 5 or 6 points from the sermon, and then I could quickly move into, say, asking it to create social media posts that could be posted daily to reinforce the main point of the sermon. Which, again, if we're talking about continuing to, as iron sharpens iron, refine the people in our body, super powerful thing to keep them engaged throughout the week. Moving on, one of the more fun and more recent things with generative AI is the ability to create content. And by content, I mean imagery. So the image you see on the screen was created by AI. It was created by the very first version of Flux when it launched last year. And this was revolutionary at that time for what it could produce in terms of realism. So this is one example of that. All right, get ready in the chat bot. We're gonna play a quick little game called "Is it real or is it AI?" Now, the image you see on the screen is 100% AI, so I'll just spill the beans on that one. This is one of the first images produced by Flux that really just blew my mind in terms of what AI could produce. But here we go. I'm going to give you exactly 30 seconds to choose one of these images. Only one of them is real. So put your number in the chat. All right. I see some ones. I see a couple twos. I see a 4. All right. This is so good. All right. I'm going to give you 2 more seconds here. All right. So for all of you who chose number 4, no, that is completely AI generated. For those of you who chose number 3, very, very much AI generated. And for those of you who chose number 1, also AI generated. So the little girl is the only real thing on the screen. So number 2 is the real one. The dead giveaway, I'll laughingly tell you one of the things to look for. One, there's stains on her shirt, and also the button. That button at the top of her sweater is kind of a dead giveaway. AI is not a big fan of buttons because they create some really interesting mathematical complexities. But the point of this is to share with you, 2 years ago, everybody could tell when it was an AI image. Today, it's getting harder and harder and harder. All right. Moving on from simple static still imagery, we're moving into a time when AI can actually generate full-blown video. We're not going to see, we're only going to see a few seconds of this because I want to save some time at the end. But if you get a chance, Kling AI, Kling 1.5, amazing video generation if you want to check it out online. I am going to show you a few seconds of completely AI generated video. And this is coming out of Runway Gen 3 Alpha. I'm going to apologize, there's no audio, but I'll let you get a feel for it. I know the clouds aren't exciting, but wait for it. Here it comes. So this is what is happening in the world of generative AI right now, and there's a huge effort to continue building out the video generation models. Now, for most of what you guys are going to do, video generation is very short clips. It's not full-length feature films yet, but the technology is advancing at such a rate that I will not be surprised when we see more and more with this over the next year. But pretty impressive. Again, Runway, Kling, Sora is another new one that's out there, but really cool things. And my mind runs to what are the things we're going to be able to do that we couldn't do before uh, in ministry, having access to this technology. All right. This is an area that I actually have a lot of fun with, but in your ministries, some of you maybe are big enough, or maybe you're not big enough. Maybe you run into these things. AI is quite masterful at handling code. Everything from creating new projects, new things. And for that, pretty much most of your core Claude 3.7 especially. Claude 3.7 just came into being about 2 weeks ago. And the article I read this morning, it has the ability to actually read an entire code base and make intelligent decisions across things. But things that I'll share with you, very practical things. If you're struggling with something on a website, maybe it's CSS, maybe it's some sort of JavaScript thing, it's messing up. One of the most powerful things that I'm showing my peer group how to do is sometimes it's amazing to just take a chunk of code, something's wrong, but you don't know what. Paste it into ChatGPT, paste it into Claude, and just literally write, what is wrong with this? It literally can go and figure out what is wrong in a moment's notice. So this code you see on the screen, this was actually generated by a tool called V0 from Vercel. And I literally asked it to create an avatar generator from nothing. So it went from simply me saying, create an avatar generator in Next.js, and it cranked out this code. So pretty cool stuff. I know that one doesn't necessarily make as much sense for most people on the call, but there are moments when you need help fixing something, and it is really good at it. So carrying on. All right, let's talk about the dark side of AI, because I know some of you are thinking it. There's this thing called hallucinations. They were a really big deal a year and a half ago. Most of the models have gotten a lot better at it, but you should be aware of it. A hallucination is when AI, which is programmed to give you an answer, not necessarily the right one, but to give you an answer, it hallucinates. It thinks it came up with something that is completely fictitious. If you follow the news, this bit a couple of lawyers pretty hard because it created a court case that never existed. So be very careful. And it's why we talk about collaborating with AI instead of what's called a one shot, where you hit AI with a question, you copy and paste and move on with your day. Rarely is that intelligent. It's good to go back and forth, just like you're having a conversation with a coworker. Price. Um, the newest technologies always have a fairly hefty price point. That said, I would say more of your mainline AI models, the price continues to come down every single quarter. The most expensive things you're going to do are going to involve video because they're highly computationally expensive. But beyond that, honestly, the price point on AI continues to drop. Now, for some of you who are working maybe with youth, young adults, one of the big things that has come up recently about AI are, I would say, unhealthy AI companionship relationships. So there is a tool out there called Character AI where people can generate their own kind of AI persona and begin to have a relationship with it. Now, I'm going to let all of you guess what happens when you have a relationship with something whose only desire and goal is to make you happy, and to make you feel heard and basically repeat the same things back to you that you say to it. Yes, we all know that that is the secret recipe for a disaster. So, I would just say, for all of your young adults, your youth ministers, be on the lookout. Some of these students are somehow falling in love with these AI relationships. And again, there's no check and balance there. There is no iron sharpening iron that you would find in a traditional relationship. There is no challenge and response. There is simply, I know they're horrible. I agree with you. And so it becomes this very, very deafening echo chamber for the person in that relationship. I will say age-old internet problems, and I will let your minds figure out how to fill in the rest of that. Now, saying this bit about the dark side of AI, I want to remind everybody these are tools. All tools are tools. I was present in the room, heard Rick Warren give this amazing chat one time about redeeming the technology. So from the printing press to the fax machine to the internet to the credit card to even the AI of today. As technologists in Kingdom work, we are called to redeem it, not just give up on it as Satan's folly, Satan's tools. They certainly are, and people who are not bent to the will of Christ, but our job is to redeem these technologies. All right, laughingly, and I'm going to save a few minutes. I want to wrap this up pretty quick, but sharing some personal use cases with you guys. And I want to go ahead and say we are likely not going to have time for live demos today. Trace will share a link to the last episode of AI in Ministry where we had my friend Sean from Boodlebox on, and we demoed a lot of these use cases in a tool called Boodlebox. We'll also give you the QR code in a few minutes for it to get in there. Um, uh, but we're not going to have time to do a lot of demos today so that we can do questions and answers. I do all kinds of little things. Big one, math help. I don't know if you guys know this or not, but somewhere in the last 20 years, math changed. And the great thing with generative AI is one, you can kind of instruct it not to give the answer, and to follow a very specific type of math flow. There's different methods for solving these things. I personally have replaced Google for many of the things that I'm looking for since the data is new enough. I will say that as I have two teenagers now, it's an infinite source of answers because, man, I thought they asked the why and the how does this work questions when they were 4 and 5, but it's gotten worse in the teenage years. And I also have very high level technical conversations with AI on a regular basis because I work from home. Rolling into ministry, high level stuff. So there's a company called Glue. They are training a Christian first large language model called Kingdom Aligned large language model. Um, this is letting you guys know it's out there. It's coming. It's not there yet, but it's in process. Again, in a previous episode of AI in Ministry, we shared this. Grab the QR code if you want. ACS has created a coloring sheet generator that uses AI, and it's free, at least for the chunk of this year, for ministries to create their own coloring sheets. Totally copyright free. And grab the QR code, grab that. You can also find it on our website. We've had a lot of fun watching ministries create really cool, creative things. Again, so that they don't have to fight the curriculum or try to go find these elsewhere. Uh, quick summary of some of these ministry uses, and then I'm hoping I can pop Boodlebox open real fast and show you guys some of these. But
Just a heads up, we
descriptions,
do have quite a few questions queued up.
you got it. Questions, languages, titles, practical applications, age adjustments. Again, if you go back and look at the previous video, I can take the pastor's sermon and spin it down to a children's ministry lesson, including object lessons, crafts, etc. So, and these are not, again, don't one shot. These are ways to use the technology to get you beyond that blank sheet of paper. Lots of other great things. We've done some demos on resumes and jobs. We'll do that again in the future. Um, and then I'll just say, we definitely want to say, the heart in all of this AI is getting pastors back to spending time with people and not the technology. Use it to accelerate ideas. And, in other ways, sometimes it's great to have a conversation with an AI that knows what's going on beyond your own sphere. We're going to skip the demos, but what I did want to show you, again, if you want to see something really cool and wild, either go back and watch the previous one, or there's a company called HeyGen, and it's really cool. You can basically, it will take a sermon video, any video really, and extract the audio, extract the text, and then it will translate it to another language, and it will attempt to remap the mouth movements to match the new language. And it's not perfect. It's pretty good, and it's getting better every day. But it's the worst AI you're ever going to use is the one that you use today. Again, we'll keep this up on the screen while we get into questions and answers. Boodlebox is the tool that we did last time. I would have loved to shown it to you guys, but we're just out of time today. So, Trace, do you want to bring up some questions?
Sure. So first of all, this is a comment that I thought you'd get a chuckle out of. I'm going to use your name. I hope that's okay. David was saying that he just asked ChatGPT to write a code to create API to connect CGI data to display on the phone, and it created the code and how to implement. Awesome. His question is, can you have AI create the HTML code to develop your website based on a series of photos and text?
Yes. Yes. If you have an image of an HTML of a web page. Now you'll have to use a vision aware model, something like ChatGPT 4o. I probably would use, if you're in the ChatGPT realm, I would probably bump all the way up to o1 or o3, because they are reasoning models and they will multipass. But if you upload the image of it and say create HTML from this, it's actually pretty good at it. Better than that, though, is you can go directly from a design tool like Figma to HTML using either Framer or even V0 these days. Sorry, that's more than you wanted. But yes, there are ways to do that. Again, it won't be perfect, but it will jumpstart you for sure.
Very cool. Thank you. And then this same person has been using Midjourney for like series, graphics, bulletins, things like that. The question is, as far as like creating table discussion, question, things like that, what, if any, is the proper way to footnote or give credit? Kind of going back to that ethical issue, how much do we need as humans to edit what's being generated for it to kind of be considered our work, things like that.
Again, I don't know that there's actually to the best of my knowledge, there is no footnoting standard. Now, if you're trying to be transparent with your audience, I would say a simple, portions of these questions were created using AI. But again, I don't know that it really matters because in a standard flow, you would use AI to generate a question either from some other text or even just, hey, help me create 4 open-ended questions about James chapter 1. Believe it or not, it would do a fantastic job of doing that. But, I don't know that you really require citing it because typically you're not going to just use those as they came. You'll edit them, you'll tweak them. So to the best of my knowledge, and again, I'm writing this one down to go investigate. There is no citing requirements for that. It's not like CCLI when you're putting worship lyrics on the screen. That just doesn't exist right now.
Right. Okay. Okay. I think these other questions might be more for you, Evan, if you wanted to come back on screen. Um, so we had a question about like, if you guys could add Swahili, and maybe you could talk a little bit about your languages roadmap and what that might look like.
Yeah, great question. So Swahili is definitely one that we offer for the demo purposes that we only do like the 10 to 15, just because it can sometimes become a little bit overwhelming. But yeah, if you scan that QR code, I can throw the link on here as well with our partnership page. You can submit some info there and I can send you over. I have a whole list of languages that are available in voice and text. And then we also have several other language options that are just available in text. So, and the reason being is within the AI space, we're limited to the amount of content that is available on the internet for our machines to learn from. So there's some languages that simply just don't have enough spoken word in that respective language for us to be able to create a voice for that. So like Haitian Creole is one of those, for example. So we provide Haitian Creole text, closed captions for several of our churches. And then to support that, we provide a French audio voice for them. There's a majority of your Haitian Creole speakers can understand French. And that's something that we're working towards, but just it's the reality of that language group. So that I can send over some of that info. No worries.
Very cool. And then
Mhm.
thank you. And I noticed you did put the link in the chat, but you guys can also scan that QR code that's on your screen right now to it'll take you to the same place. So Evan, can the translation stream be connected to the church live stream?
Yeah, that's a great question. So right now we're limited by the live stream platform. But so there's not necessarily a way to directly integrate into that platform, but we have a really great workaround that we use for a lot of our churches. And if you don't mind, would I be able to share my screen here really quick? And I can show you guys what that could look like. Is
Chris, you need to unshare. Okay, there we
I
go.
did.
awesome.
I
I'm gonna
stole it.
share here.
Snag it up.
So what you guys are looking at right now is the audience side on the browser link. So a lot of you guys probably downloaded the app and we're listening to interpretation there. This is the same thing just on the browser. So what you'll notice is I can come here, I can select any of the languages that I need, and you'll see this little person icon here. What we do, and we do this for events all the time, is we would actually just get another video feed from your guys's your video cam. You can pretty much just duplicate your live stream feed, send it to us as well, and then that video feed would pop up right here, so you can see real time the sermon, that production cut, whatever that is. They can watch it here, they can select their language, and then it'll all be paired real time. So it's a really great workaround that we can get around that right now, as we're working through how to again, being limited by those providers, but this is something that we could provide there. And this can be and your YouTube description, hey, Spanish interpretation, click here, right? And can bring them to this page, or you have it embedded on your website. You can have it iframed there, or you can put a button on there again. Hey, YouTube, like live stream, click here, Spanish live stream, Ukrainian live stream, Swahili live stream. You can do that however you want. We can give you guys specific links to integrate that there.
That's cool.
Yeah, that is really cool. Thank you for sharing that. Okay. I'm sure a lot of people have the same question that's sitting at the top of my queue now. And that is, what is the bottom line, Evan? Like, what does the church need to do if they're interested? I know you mentioned a trial period,
Yeah.
but you could kind of walk through the steps on what a church can do at this point.
Yeah, so what that looks like is, again, scan that QR code, go to that link, submit your info there. I'll reach out, or somebody from my team will reach out, and we'll get you guys set up. We can have a phone call if you want to. You want to talk about your guys' specific application. If you're like, hey, Evan, this is sweet, we want to run a demo this Sunday, It's super easy for me to set things up. I have a really quick instructions for you guys, and I can send that over, and then you guys can run that trial. It could be this Sunday, or maybe it's something you guys are planning on down the road, right? We just talked with a church plant yesterday, and they're launching the week before Easter. So we're working with them through April to get them rolling. So yeah, whatever your guys' timeline is, we would love to be able to support you with that.
Great. So the QR code or the link basically will prompt them to fill out a form, and then from there, they're in your very capable hands, is what I'm hearing.
Yes, I will reach out to you and I'll take care of you. Yep.
Great, thank you. Okay, one more question. I think this might be the last one, unless somebody surprises me and sends another one into the Q&A panel. But Rob was saying, did the gentleman earlier say that audio can be translated into sign language?
It cannot. So there's some really cool stuff right now that you can do post-production. So kind of what Chris was originally talking about, how there's the Spanish translation. There's a team that we work with that does that exact same thing with its AI generative human or sign language. So they do ASL, ESL, and a couple other different sign language as well. It's really cool. But right now, just because there's so much processing power that needs to happen, there's no way to bring that into the real-time space. That's where we're headed. And we're super excited for that to happen. And there's just some more intricacies to sign as well. But that would be, but currently right now, it's just in the post-production space.
Cool.
But you do have the closed captions that are live, so they could follow along that way.
Correct. Yep.
All right. Well, those are all the questions that we got. Evan, your vintage shirt did get a shout out in the chat.
There we go. I love it.
So Chris, any final words? And then I will unrecord. Stop recording.
No. We just want to say ACS is going to continue bringing you AI and ministry content every month, at least for all of this year. We plan to have some other really cool partners and providers join us in future webinars. And like I said, we're definitely going to have Evan back to talk about some of the newer things that they're doing. But don't miss it. Be on the lookout. AI in Ministry. It'll be an ongoing series this year, and we can't wait to help your ministries take advantage of this technology. Until next time, thanks for being here.